Time, money, and energy. These are the things that govern our lives. What are the things we can spend our money on in our 20s that will give us the most value and maximize our youth while still preparing us the best for the future? This is something I've always struggled with. I remember especially when I was 24 years old and I had a goal. I wanted to make $10 million by this age and I had completely missed my goal. And I had a conversation with my dad about it and my dad was like, Cliff, look, you're sad you haven't made $10 million. Like, why do you even have this goal? And I told him, well, I did this thought process where I looked at all the things I wanted in life and I did the math for how much I would need to have, a house and a vacation house and how can I send, 5 kids to college and, pay for ski and all this stuff. And I realized I needed about $500,000 per year. And my goal was, let's imagine that I'm going to make 5% per year in returns investing in the stock market. I needed $10 million to invest in the stock market to have $500,000 per year. And he's like, okay, but why do you need to make that money from investments? Why can't you make it off of normal income? And I was like, well, because I want to have time to do all these other things. And he made me realize that I actually had enough time to do these other things even while I was working. As long as I kept being ambitious, I would be able to keep supporting all my goals. So really the relationship with money in my brain shifted to realizing that my goal is to make sure that money is not governing my decision making, that I have the freedom to do the things that I want. So how much money in my bank account really was an irrelevant number. What was important was I able to do the things that made me happy and that allowed me to become the person that I wanted to be. And now I just never think about money. What I think about is, do I have more goals? If so, what is needed to accomplish these goals? That's the first thing to think about when trying to figure out how to spend money in your 20s is really, what are your goals? So here's what I recommend. Break your life into those categories: love, romantic love, friendship love, etc. Your goals in business, your goals in fitness, your goals around art or self-expression, your goals about where you want to live in terms of logistics, and figure out what are the goals that you have in life that will make your life fun. An easy way of running this experiment is to open a Google Sheet and write out 30 wishes, things you want, and then figure out how to make them happen. And so the first area that I recommend is finding people who can help you get better at the things that you want to get better at. And it doesn't need to be people whose profession is to coach or to be a teacher. Even better is to find practitioners who you can ask to teach you. So I often trade people. I'll teach them how to do a backflip. They'll teach me how to make a video, how to make a better omelet, how to do performance marketing. So what are the things that you can offer? And if you can't, take a portion of your salary and pay them. The second thing is, how can you invest your money to save time? Because at the end of the day, time is the only real currency. So one thing that I did when I was younger is I hired 10 freelancers in the Philippines to find and apply to scholarships for me full-time. And it didn't take that much time to set up the system, but once I did, it was a massive positive improvement on my quality of life. And so one thing that I've always been challenged with in my life is it's difficult for me to come up with things to spend more money on that will improve my quality of life. Because once you figured out, okay, I'm gonna buy flights in the following way that is really efficient with points, I'm gonna get a house here that makes sense in terms of business, what do you invest more money in? And so quickly I realized that actually the key is to figure out what gives you energy specifically and investing your money there. So what does that mean for me? I really love living with my best friends. And so one thing that I did that was very unconventional is I paid for friends to break their leases so they can come live with me instead of the different places that they were living at before. The other thing I do is if I have friends who have important milestones in their lives, I will fly there. I just got back from Copenhagen because I had a friend who had a movie premiere for something that they've been working on for 2 years, and I wanted to be there for them. Most people don't think to invest the time or invest the money in doing stuff like that, but for me, it's a no-brainer. Being there for my friends is one of the things that gives me the most joy in life, so I prioritize doing it. And so I think that the places that gives me the most utility in terms of how to spend money in my 20s, number one is the normal logistics of food, rent, etc. Number two is money to spend on experiences with friends. And the key there is not how much money you spend. It's negotiating down the price of the experience and making sure that you're doing something novel, whether it be going camping somewhere. Like my favorite trip I've ever done is with my friend Valentine. We booked flights on points. We booked a rental car with points, and we slept in the rental car for about 10 days where we circumnavigated Big Island in Hawaii. And then we got some surfboards for like 30 bucks a day and surfed. And that was a trip that was partly fun because we were saving money by sleeping on the car. The next category is education. I love hiring people who can teach me something specific, but I will also invest in books and audiobooks. One category that's very interesting here is college worth it? And so for me, college was amazing because I made so many friends. But if you already know what you want to do and you have a good group of friends, it's not something that is a must. Definitely, it's not worthwhile to get into crazy debt into unless you're going to meet exceptional friends that will be there for the rest of your life. And so the key to understand is the most important thing in college is the people you meet. The second one is just the environment that you're in and the opportunity to have 4 years to figure out your life. And then only after that, classes are important. In the education section is also learning specific skills like videography or editing or iPhone app development or web development or design. And so I used to buy a lot of courses on Udemy to learn how to do these things. And those things completely changed my life because it made it so I didn't need to depend on other people to help me build products. I could do it myself. And finally, the biggest category, and I think this is the category that moves you from being in your 20s to being in your 30s, is family. The place that most people spend money on is actually their kids. There's a really good line, which is at a certain point in everyone's life, you need to either have have kids or find God. Otherwise, life remains meaningless. And so for me, I'm one of 5 kids. I think that having kids is like the coolest thing in the world. Like I want to have between 5 and 7 kids. And it's just from my observation of seeing other families around me and how much satisfaction they get by having people in their family. And so I know that I want to save a lot because I want to be able to support my kids and I want to be able to spend a lot of time on them when I'm older. And so it's not just spending money in the now in order to maximize how much you're experiencing. It's also planning for the future and seeing what are the things that are not only important for you now, but your biggest goals in life. And in life means all the way up till age 150. And so that's the key, is balancing those two things. If you want to learn more about this topic of how to spend money in your 20s, I highly recommend the book Die With Zero by Bill Perkins. You can find the link for that below if you download Speechify and open the audiobooks tab. And hey, one good way to spend time in your 20s is to binge watch the rest of the videos on the channel. So go ahead and have a look. Happy listening.